Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? We have the one and only Anna Kelly with us this morning. How you doing, Anna?
I'm great. So good to see you as always.
Yes, and we're doing it outside today because you know what? You have a bunch of guys in there banging around in the house making noise, huh?
I do. So instead, you get to hear the chirping birds and the little bunnies playing outside.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, folks, if you don't know already, Anna Kelly has been with us for, I think, almost 2 years. She has her own playlist. Something I did recently was cleaned up all my descriptions, and you'll see all my experts have a playlist before. And Anna's is the biggest, longest, most watched. Do yourself a favor and check it out. So, again, thank you for all the time you give us.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure. And I cannot believe it's been 2 years. It's gone so quickly.
It has, right? And that's actually where we're going to start. Topic number one is going to be, all right, Anna, you've been retired for 2 years, and retired, I guess we have to be clear, right? Out of a W-2 job, right? You left your day job, and you've
Yes,
been,
I like to call it financially free. I'm not really retired, but I'm financially free.
all right. So you've been financially free for 2 years. It's a place where lots of people want to be. And something that I'd love to talk about is, have you had any surprises? Did anything surprise you? Did you think it would be one way and it was another, good or bad? Anything you've uncovered in the last couple of years?
Sure. A couple of things I think that have kind of surprised me. I thought that things were going to still be really tight, right? Like, okay, I'm leaving the job. Yes, I've created all this passive income, but we really never lived on any of it. The only thing we took out was a couple thousand, $2,000 a month to pay for my kids' Christian school. But other than that, we lived on my salary and we just kept putting everything we made back into growing and building more and creating more cash flow before I, left the corporate job. So I thought it was going to be tight and that lenders were going to give me a hard time because I no longer had, this 20-year career and I was just doing real estate. And it was completely the opposite, Michael, because they had seen what I had been able to build. They saw that I had done it stably on the side and had good, payments. The money came to me very, very easily. So that was a big surprise. And since I could continue to lend and borrow, I was able to continue to buy and really, really scale what I had done in the previous 12 years over the last 2 years.
Yeah. And that's something that I saw as well is it's funny, right? When we both did it the same way, similarly, right? We busted our butt during the day. We lived below our means and, we shoved as much as we could into real estate. So it was always a side hustle. Then you step off, right? This goes away, right? Day job goes away and you're over here. And I think there's a couple of things that I saw. One, you're right. You just don't know how lenders are going to behave. It hasn't been a problem. I couldn't get cheap money anyway, meaning the 3% money. It's always 5 or 6%, but it hasn't been a problem. But the other thing I thought was interesting, and you just kind of alluded to it, is deal volume went up. Deal volume went up, right? It's amazing to think, yeah, it's really true. You get rid of that 10-hour day job. It's amazing how many other deals you can evaluate.
Yes, that's exactly the thing. It's the whole point of being financially free is it really buys you your time freedom. So having enough money to cover your living expenses allows you to do what you want with your time. And instead of me having to, every time I'm in a game or a stadium trying to look for deals and text and contact people and evaluate, now it's like I can do this all day during the day and then actually have time freedom at night. So I just basically went from 2 full-time jobs to one that I generally work about 30 hours a week. So I'm definitely still active. I definitely still work, but I get to choose to work to do what I love. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah. I still remember some of our earlier conversations after you left. Your word then was joy, right? You want to do things that brought joy. And there for a little while, it almost seemed like you were almost way busier than you were before, right? Because you were trying to find out where you were going to fit after you left the day job. Now that it's been 2 years, have you settled into a flow? And I think you kind of just said it. Now it's a 30-hour a week job, where before it kind of felt like you were trying to do everything, and it felt like you had 6 or 7 jobs in there.
Well, it's one of those things, Michael, when you work 70 or 80 hours a week for 12 years, you don't really know how to slow down, right?
Yeah.
And so I knew I had to force myself to slow down, but it felt like I was doing half the work. It really did. So I was still, working about 40 hours a week. And some
Okay.
weeks it's more and some weeks it's less, right? When you're in the middle of heavy deal acquisition
Mhm.
on big multifamily deals, they become pretty consuming for the first few months that you're, raising money and doing all the legal and the transition and then, take over and sending it to a PM. Like there's a lot of hours involved. So we fool ourselves if we think, doing bigger deals is going to make it somehow more passive. It's really not. But part of it was doing multiple deals right away. And then also, I really had a lot of things that on the back burner I had wanted to do when I retired, like coach, for example, write a book, for example, and then continue to do bigger deals. And so I wanted to jump right in doing all of it, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do this and this and this. And you quickly realize, wow, this is going to take way more time than I thought it would.
Yeah.
I got to take baby steps, one thing at a time, and let things come naturally instead of like forcing it that it all has to be right now.
Yeah, that was cool. The other thing I remember, again, because we've been doing this a couple of years together, is you took a road trip with the family. That was pretty awesome, and I think you're just about to do that again, right? So you can really set up special memories that are weeks in duration because of what you worked so hard for. You want to talk about that and how important that is to do?
Oh, 100%. We made the mistake early on that we didn't take enough vacations. We just were working so hard, just aggressively trying to get me home with the kids that we didn't rest much, right? So we would travel once a week to go see my family in Texas, and that was pretty much it. Then we bought a beach house, so we went, 2 weeks of summer to go to the beach, but we never really traveled. And so it was important to me as soon as I retired, let's take the first cross country trip that we've ever taken and maybe the last one. And we just kind of loosely planned it. And we said, I got to speak at a conference in Colorado in 3 weeks. Let's just go and we'll just figure out where we want to stop and what we want to see all the way down. And it was amazing not to have everything like super planned. And I really took that 3.5 weeks off from real estate. We just chose, I've got everything allocated to property managers. That's the passive part, right?
Yeah.
When you want it to be passive, when you set up the systems and the structures and the people, it can be passive. And when you don't want it to be, it doesn't have to be. But it was such an amazing trip with my family. They all said, we want to do this every year, right? First, it was, we don't want to go. That's too long. And then it was, this was awesome. So last year, because of the pandemic, we really didn't get to do that. We drove to Texas to see my family. But this year we're planning the same thing. So my son's about to graduate high school in a week. Woo-hoo. And, that's been a big part of my last 2 years, just really pouring into him. And I said, this is the last time that I get to make him go on vacation with us before he's an adult.
Yeah.
So we're leaving again for about 3.5 weeks. As soon as he graduates, we're going to go to the beach, our new beach house. And then we're going to go south and hit a bunch of places. And I'm going to mix a little real estate hunting, some new markets on the way down, but it's mostly just about, family and memories and enjoying everything that we've worked so hard for.
Yeah. And I guess what I want to close this video with is I just want to remind people, and again, go back and Anna's got a long playlist. The journey was not easy, right? But it was worth it. And what you get to hear from Anna and I weekly, hopefully what you're hearing is it's worth it. Do the work, make the progress, get started. You can get there. I mean, that's hopefully what you hear from Anna and I week in, week out.
100%. That's what it's all about, Michael. And I sit here today just really pinching myself, years of just blood, sweat, and tears and thinking, what am I doing? Can I really do this? It's too hard. How much longer can I go, before I get there? And then you get there and it's like, wow, the fruit of the labor, there's a time to sow and a time to reap, right? And you sow for a long time for most of us, but what you get to reap at the end by just continuing to go and developing grit and not giving up, it's amazing. It's so worth the journey.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we will call this episode again. Anna, thank you very much. This is always great.
Thanks, Michael.